Please, don't hurt me, I can't move, she whispered, her voice cracking through the rain-soaked alley. Water shimmered over the concrete, reflecting the dull glow of a street lamp. From the distance, a man's shadow grew larger, his steps slow, heavy, deliberate. She tried to crawl backward, her white suit smeared with mud, mascara streaking down her cheeks. Her ankle twisted painfully, swelling beneath her torn heel. Then, around the corner, another figure appeared, a tall man with broad shoulders, carrying a small girl wrapped in a bright yellow raincoat. Rain slid down his deep brown skin, his boots leaving wet prints behind. He looked exhausted, and yet, when he heard that desperate voice, he froze. The little girl stirred in his arms. "Daddy, is she gonna die?" He set her down gently. "Stay right here, sweetheart." She hugged her stuffed bunny tight and nodded. The man stepped forward, calm but firm. "Back away from her, now." The aggressor turned, startled, his breath quick and shallow. The tension in the air vibrated, thick as thunder. But the rescuer's eyes, steady, unafraid, didn't move. Something in that gaze made the other man retreat, step by step, before melting into the dark. The woman blinked through tears, trembling from pain and disbelief. The little girl peeked from the end of the alley as thunder rolled above. The man knelt beside her, voice low and warm. "You're safe now, I've got you." She stared at him, breath catching in her throat. She didn't know his name, and yet, at that moment, something deep within her shifted. She had been seen, truly seen, for the first time in years. His name was Malik Harris. He lived on the third floor of a worn brick building in South Atlanta, where every wall carried memories of struggle and survival. At 32, his life was divided in two, before and after his wife's passing. 2 years earlier, cancer had taken her swiftly, cruelly. Now, everything revolved around his daughter, Lena. By day, Malik fixed washing machines, earning just enough to pay the rent and keep food on the table. He smelled of metal, soap, and long days, but he never complained. As long as Lena had crayons, dinner, and a warm bed, that was enough. Once, Malik had been something else, a firefighter and paramedic. A long scar ran down his left arm, the mark of the night he carried a child from a burning house. He never spoke about it. Some memories weren't for telling, they were for carrying quietly. Lena was 6, with tight curls and a laugh that could light up any dark room. She never went anywhere without her dented crayon box. "Colors fix everything," she'd always say, filling their home with hearts, rainbows, and smiling faces. That rainy night, Malik had promised her a hot dog from the corner stand if she behaved at the store. They took a shortcut through the alley when the scream shattered the quiet. A woman's voice, trembling with fear. That woman was Nia Jefferson. She hadn't planned to run that night. But when her fiancé, Ethan Cole, locked the hotel door and raised his voice, something inside her broke. For months, he had pressured her to sign away her shares, her independence, her power. And when she refused again, he crossed a line she never thought he would. The engagement had never been about love, it was a business deal, a power play designed by Nia's father to protect his empire. But Nia was never made to live inside a cage. She refused to be anyone's pawn. When Ethan's hand gripped her wrist, something inside her snapped. In one desperate motion, she grabbed the laptop holding proof of his lies and ran barefoot into the storm. Her heart pounded, her breath tore through the rain. She had never run like that before, chased, terrified, free. Then came the fall. Her ankle twisted sharply, sending her crashing to the slick pavement. Still, she held the laptop tight against her chest. It wasn't just evidence, it was survival. Pain blurred her vision, her designer suit torn and soaked, her hair plastered to her cheeks. Behind her, Ethan's voice echoed through the alley, closer and closer. And that was when Malik found her. He lifted her without a word, carrying her through the quiet streets. The rain had softened to a mist by the time they reached his building. Her body shook from cold and shock, the laptop still clutched to her heart like a shield. Malik said nothing, only shifted his arms to block the wind. "It's okay," he whispered as he lowered her onto a worn but clean couch, "you're safe now." Tiny footsteps echoed from the hall. Lena stood in the doorway, rain boots still on, her stuffed bunny dangling from one arm. She studied Nia quietly, eyes wide and serious, the way only a child can be. "Daddy," she said softly, "why is she crying like me when I miss Mommy?" Malik froze, the air seemed to still. Nia's breath caught. Her eyes glistened as she turned away, her fingers gripping the couch. Those words hit harder than any wound. "She's had a hard day, sweetheart," Malik said gently. "Sometimes grown-ups cry too." Lena nodded slowly, then padded back toward her room, her boots squeaking on the linoleum. Malik returned with a towel, wrapping it around Nia's shoulders. "I'll make you some tea," he murmured. She nodded, still speechless. He moved into the kitchen, leaving her surrounded by warmth that felt unfamiliar, almost frightening. Her ankle throbbed with each heartbeat, but something deeper ached more, the sudden feeling of safety. She'd lived in penthouses and hotel suites, surrounded by luxury and noise. None of them felt like this small, imperfect room that somehow breathed peace. It scared her, because it felt real. Sometime after midnight, Nia awoke with a start. A dim light glowed from the hallway. Her ankle still hurt, but the sharp pain had eased. The silence felt strange, no sirens, no footsteps, no shouting. Only calm. She sat up, the blanket slipping to the floor. Beside her, the laptop rested where she had left it. Guilt settled in her chest. She had invaded this man's home, a stranger's kindness she couldn't repay. Quietly, she stood, limping toward the door. She would leave before dawn, no note, no thank you, just disappear. But as she reached for her shoes, she froze. They were dry. Clean. The soles patched with care. Someone had taken the time to fix them. The loose sole had been stitched carefully, each line neat and deliberate. Beside the shoes sat a folded towel, fresh, still warm, and a small note on top. The handwriting was steady but simple. "Your foot's not healed yet. You can stay. It's okay." Nia stared at the note, her vision blurring. No demands, no expectations, no hidden cost. Just kindness. Her hand trembled as she sank to the floor, clutching the paper. All her life she had fought, to prove herself, to earn her worth, to never break. And yet, here in this small apartment, with creaky floors and crayon drawings taped across every wall, she felt something she had never known before: acceptance. Not for her power, not for her success, but simply for being human. The next morning, she awoke to the soft whistle of a kettle and the gentle clatter of pans. Half dreaming, she thought she was back in her penthouse, where breakfast was scheduled, perfect, precise. But then her eyes adjusted to the worn couch beneath her, the faded curtains, the hum of a small refrigerator covered in drawings. This wasn't her world anymore. Malik appeared from the kitchen, holding a steaming mug. He placed it gently on the table beside her. The air filled with the scent of ginger and honey. "Drink this," he said softly, "it'll help with the pain." Nia sat up slowly, testing her ankle. It still hurt, but the swelling had eased. She took a careful sip. The taste was sharp, warm, grounding. "You made this yourself?" she asked quietly. He smiled faintly. "Old habit. Ginger tea, clean water, steady hands. Sometimes that's all you need." Without another word, he sat on the edge of the table and lifted her foot gently onto his lap. His hands were firm but gentle, his touch steady and sure. He removed the old bandage, cleaned the wound, and wrapped it again with calm precision. Nia watched him in silence. For years, people had managed her life, meetings, decisions, even emotions. But none had ever cared for her, not like this, not with patience, not without expectation. "You've done this before," she murmured. He nodded once. "Rescue work. Fires, car wrecks, you learn to stay calm, even when everything inside you is breaking." Her eyes softened. She wanted to ask more, but he reached for her torn jacket instead. He found a small sewing kit and began threading a needle. "You don't have to do that," she whispered. "I know," he said quietly, "but it's worth fixing." The stitches weren't perfect, the thread uneven. Still, he worked with such quiet care that something deep inside her gave way. Tears slipped free before she could stop them. She covered her face, shaking, embarrassed. Malik froze. "Did I hurt you?" She shook her head, voice trembling. "No. I'm not used to this. To someone caring." He didn't ask her to explain. He simply handed her a tissue, his tone gentle. "Everyone deserves that," he said. "Even you." At that moment, soft footsteps crossed the floor. Lena appeared, her hair neatly braided, pajamas scattered with stars. She held a paper tight to her chest, her face glowing with quiet pride. Without hesitation, Lena walked up and placed the paper in Nia's lap. "This is for you," she said proudly. Nia unfolded it slowly. It was a crayon drawing, bright, uneven colors filling the page. A tall man with brown skin, a little black girl in yellow shoes, and beside them, the faint outline of a woman with curls, drawn in pencil but left uncolored. Nia frowned softly. "Who's this?" Lena beamed, pointing to the blank space. "That's you. I left it empty for a long time, waiting for the right person to fit. I think it's supposed to be you now." Nia's throat tightened, her hands trembling around the page. "Sweetheart," she whispered, her voice breaking, "why me?" "Because you're here," Lena said simply, "and you look like someone who needs a family." A laugh escaped before Nia could stop it, half laugh, half sob. She pressed the drawing to her chest as tears streamed freely. For years, her life had been made of contracts, deadlines, and cold smiles that never reached the heart. She had always been fighting, proving, surviving. But no one had ever left space for her. Here, in this small apartment filled with coffee and crayon scents, a little girl had done exactly that. She had given her a place. Nia looked up and saw Malik standing in the doorway, quiet, unreadable. But his eyes spoke, acceptance, patience, hope. She turned back to Lena, smiling through tears. "Thank you, sweetheart. That's the kindest gift anyone's ever given me." Lena giggled, clutching her crayons. "Then I'm making it official. Purple dress, right?" Nia laughed softly. "Yes, make it purple." As the violet color filled the empty outline, something warm stirred inside her, belonging. Her ankle healed little by little. Each morning, the pain eased, her steps steadier, her balance returning. Still, walking was hard, and she hated needing help. But Malik never made her feel weak. He offered his arm quietly, steady as always. When she stumbled, he caught her. When she winced, he slowed. No pity, no rush, just presence. "Just one step at a time," he'd say gently. And she'd nod, breathing with his rhythm. Step, breathe, balance, their silent ritual of trust. One sunny Saturday, Lena clapped her hands. "It's pancake day. Daddy makes them okay, but I bet Miss Nia makes them fancy." "I wouldn't count on it," Nia teased. "I've never cooked a thing in my life." Lena gasped. "Never? Not even toast?" "Nope," Nia said with a grin. Malik chuckled. "Well, that's about to change." The three of them crowded into the tiny kitchen, bumping elbows and laughing. Lena stood on a chair, curls bouncing as she gave orders. "More milk. Not too many eggs. Wait for the bubbles before you flip." Nia tried to follow, but the first pancake stuck. The second folded in half. The third caught fire. Malik grabbed the pan, waving a towel at the smoke. "I think that one's yours," he joked, sliding the burnt pancake onto her plate. They burst into laughter, real laughter, the kind that fills a room and heals old wounds. It rolled through the apartment like sunlight after rain. When they finally sat down, the pancakes were crooked, uneven, half-burned, half-raw. But Lena grinned, taking a big bite. "These are dorky pancakes," she said proudly, "but dorky is good." They ate slowly, bathed in morning light. Outside, Atlanta buzzed with life. But inside, time stood still, leaving only warmth, laughter, and the quiet beginning of something that finally felt like home. Without hesitation, Lena walked up and placed the paper in Nia's lap. "This is for you," she said proudly. Nia unfolded it slowly. It was a crayon drawing, bright, uneven colors filling the page. A tall man with brown skin, a little black girl in yellow shoes, and beside them, the faint outline of a woman with curls, drawn in pencil but left uncolored. Nia frowned softly. "Who's this?" Lena beamed, pointing to the blank space. "That's you. I left it empty for a long time, waiting for the right person to fit. I think it's supposed to be you now." Nia's throat tightened, her hands trembling around the page. "Sweetheart," she whispered, her voice breaking, "why me?" "Because you're here," Lena said simply, "and you look like someone who needs a family." A laugh escaped before Nia could stop it, half laugh, half sob. She pressed the drawing to her chest as tears streamed freely. For years, her life had been made of contracts, deadlines, and cold smiles that never reached the heart. She had always been fighting, proving, surviving. But no one had ever left space for her. Here, in this small apartment filled with coffee and crayon scents, a little girl had done exactly that. She had given her a place. Nia looked up and saw Malik standing in the doorway, quiet, unreadable. But his eyes spoke acceptance, patience, hope. She turned back to Lena, smiling through tears. "Thank you, sweetheart. That's the kindest gift anyone's ever given me." Lena giggled, clutching her crayons. "Then I'm making it official. Purple dress, right?" Nia laughed softly. "Yes, make it purple." As the violet color filled the empty outline, something warm stirred inside her, belonging. Her ankle healed little by little. Each morning, the pain eased, her steps steadier, her balance returning. Still, walking was hard, and she hated needing help. But Malik never made her feel weak. He offered his arm quietly, steady as always. When she stumbled, he caught her. When she winced, he slowed. No pity, no rush, just presence. "Just one step at a time," he'd say gently. And she'd nod, breathing with his rhythm. Step, breathe, balance, their silent ritual of trust. One sunny Saturday, Lena clapped her hands. "It's pancake day. Daddy makes them okay, but I bet Miss Nia makes them fancy." "I wouldn't count on it," Nia teased. "I've never cooked a thing in my life." Lena gasped. "Never? Not even toast?" "Nope," Nia said with a grin. Malik chuckled. "Well, that's about to change." The three of them crowded into the tiny kitchen, bumping elbows and laughing. Lena stood on a chair, curls bouncing as she gave orders. "More milk. Not too many eggs. Wait for the bubbles before you flip." Nia tried to follow, but the first pancake stuck. The second folded in half. The third caught fire. Malik grabbed the pan, waving a towel at the smoke. "I think that one's yours," he joked, sliding the burnt pancake onto her plate. They burst into laughter, real laughter, the kind that fills a room and heals old wounds. It rolled through the apartment like sunlight after rain. When they finally sat down, the pancakes were crooked, uneven, half-burned, half-raw. But Lena grinned, taking a big bite. "These are dorky pancakes," she said proudly, "but dorky is good." They ate slowly, bathed in morning light. Outside, Atlanta buzzed with life. But inside, time stood still, leaving only warmth, laughter, and the quiet beginning of something that finally felt like home. Lena talked nonstop about school, how she'd almost won the spelling bee, how her teacher wore cat socks every Friday, and how she told the whole class that Nia was her maybe new mom. Nia froze mid-bite, eyes flicking toward Malik. He didn't flinch. He just smiled softly and poured more syrup on Lena's pancakes, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. That evening, after Lena had fallen asleep surrounded by coloring books and her stuffed bunny army, Malik and Nia sat together on the couch. The TV was off. Only the soft glow of passing headlights slipped through the curtains. The silence wasn't empty, it was warm, alive. Nia pulled the blanket closer, her body still sore from walking practice. Without thinking, she leaned against Malik, resting her head on his shoulder. He didn't move. She could feel his heartbeat beneath her cheek, steady, grounding. "You don't know it," she whispered, "but you've saved me from more than you can imagine." Her words barely rose above the hum of the city. He didn't ask what she meant. "I didn't save anyone," he said quietly. "I just saw someone who needed help." Those simple words hit harder than any speech or apology she'd ever heard. All her life, people had seen her title, her wealth, her image. Malik saw her. Just her. And instead of turning away, he stayed. Then came the interruption. First, the phone ringing. Then the buzzer at the front door. Then a knock, sharp, heavy, too familiar. Nia froze, her hand still covered in soap. Malik peeked through the curtain, his jaw tightening. "Don't move," he said softly. She didn't need to ask why. The sleek black car parked outside told her everything. They had found her. Within minutes, more people arrived, reporters with cameras, a woman in a blazer clutching a microphone, a company lawyer with a face trained to fake concern. The sidewalk filled with whispers and flashing lights. Malik stood by the door, arms crossed, shielding the view inside. From the bedroom came Lena's small, worried voice. "Daddy? Why are there people outside?" "It's okay," Sweetheart, Nia said, forcing her voice calm. They're just lost. Hours passed before the noise died down. The lights faded. The cars pulled away. But Nia knew it wasn't over. That night, her phone buzzed with a message from the company board. An offer. A big one. Millions in compensation, a full reinstatement, and a spotless public image. All she had to do was return, sign the papers, and pretend nothing had ever happened. She stared at the glowing screen for a long moment. Then she closed the laptop quietly. In the kitchen, Malik was drying dishes with a checkered towel. I'm not going back, she said. He didn't look up right away. You sure about that? Yes, she said firmly. They've offered me more money than I could ever spend, but not once in all those years did I wake up feeling the way I do here. He turned then, meeting her eyes. How do you feel here? She took a breath. Real, she said softly. Seen. Safe. Malik nodded once. That's all that matters. By morning, a single duffel bag sat by the door. Malik packed the truck, lifting Lena into the back seat with her crayons and bunny in hand. They drove out of Atlanta as the sun rose, the city shrinking behind them. The road wound through quiet woods, the trees glowing gold with the first breath of fall. And for the first time in years, Nia didn't look back. They arrived at a quiet farmhouse hidden behind a grove of birch trees. It belonged to Malik's mother, a retired nurse with gentle gray curls and hands that seemed to heal just by touch. She took one look at Nia, asked no questions, and said softly, There's warm bread in the oven and a clean bed upstairs. That night, under a sky scattered with stars, Nia and Malik sat side by side on the porch steps, a worn quilt draped over their knees. I used to think I had everything, Nia murmured. Titles, property, power. Malik didn't interrupt. He simply listened, his gaze fixed on the horizon. And yet, she continued, it was all hollow. I gave up so much of myself just to look successful. Malik took a slow sip of tea, his voice calm. They only saw your name, not you. She nodded. Exactly. He looked out at the quiet field. I know what that's like, being seen as something you're not. She turned toward him, curious. Tell me. He hesitated, then spoke, his tone low and steady. There was a fire, years ago. A small house. I was first on the scene. I pulled a little girl out. His throat tightened. I did everything I could, but she didn't make it. Nia's chest ached. She reached for his hand and whispered, You still carry it. He nodded slowly. Every day. They didn't need to say more. The silence between them was gentle, not heavy, two souls sitting beneath the same sky, learning how to breathe again. Weeks later, Nia stood once more in the boardroom she had built her empire in. The place felt colder now, glass walls, marble floors, polished chrome that reflected a world she no longer belonged to. Everything shined, yet nothing felt alive. Her steps echoed sharply. The limp remained, but so did her strength. No designer dress, no glittering jewelry, just a navy suit, a calm gaze, and a kind of power that didn't need to shout. Heads turned as she entered. Whispers rippled around the long table. She came back. She actually showed up. What is she thinking? At the far end sat Ethan Cole, relaxed, smirking, in the chair that once belonged to her. Well, he said smoothly, Miss Jefferson. How unexpected. I assumed you'd learn to accept your place off the board. Nia didn't flinch. She walked to the center of the room, resting one hand on the table for balance. I came back, she said evenly, to finish this the right way. Ethan leaned back, ready to respond, but she raised her hand slightly. Her voice cut through the air, not loud, but absolute. I may not walk the same way I used to, she said, glancing briefly at her ankle. But I stand taller now, because I finally stand for myself. The room fell silent. With a single tap on her laptop, the large screen behind her came to life. Emails. Spreadsheets. Confidential memos. Proof of fraud, manipulation, betrayal, all orchestrated by Ethan and his allies. Gasps echoed through the room. Board members shifted, whispering uneasily. Nia turned slowly, meeting each pair of eyes with calm defiance. You thought I disappeared because I was weak, she said. But I left to remember who I was, before you convinced me I had to be someone else. Ethan shot up from his chair, his voice sharp, defensive. This is reckless, Nia. Do you have any idea what this could cost you? She looked at him, really looked, and for the first time, she saw how small he truly was. I do, she said calmly, and I'm ready to pay it. From her folder, she pulled out a single document and placed it on the table with deliberate grace. This is my formal resignation, effective immediately. I'm giving up my position, my shares, and every ounce of control you ever thought you had over me. The silence that followed was absolute. You can keep your titles, your board seats, your empire built on fear and silence, she continued. But I will not be part of it anymore. At the far end of the table, a senior board member, an older woman who had mentored Nia years ago, leaned forward, her voice trembling. Why, child? Nia's tone softened, but her conviction stayed firm. Because I'm not a product. I'm not a brand. I'm not a bargaining chip in someone else's game. I'm a person. The older woman nodded slowly, tears gathering in her eyes. Ethan sneered. You'll regret this. You're throwing away everything. Nia met his gaze one last time. No, she said quietly, I'm walking away from something that never truly belonged to me. She gathered her folder and laptop, and step by step, limp and all, she walked out. No one stopped her. Not this time. When the elevator doors closed, she didn't cry. She didn't shake. She exhaled. Outside, the sun hung low over the city, painting the skyline in gold and rose. The hum of traffic and life felt different now. Nia stepped onto the sidewalk, not as a CEO, not as a brand, but as a woman who had finally chosen herself. And for the first time in years, her shoulders carried only truth. It was enough. When Nia returned to Malik's apartment, it was just as she remembered, modest, alive, full of warmth. Afternoon sunlight streamed through the window, wrapping everything in gold. On the balcony, Malik crouched beside a planter, helping Lena dig out a wilted marigold. Their hands were covered in soil, laughter bubbling between them. Nia stood in the doorway, her heart swelling. Do you have room for one more in this garden? She asked softly. Malik looked up, smiling, not surprised, just certain. Always, he said. Lena grinned, dirt smudged across her cheek. We're planting new flowers today, she said proudly. This one's orange. You can pick the next one. Nia knelt beside them, pressing her hands into the cool soil. In that simple act, digging, planting, creating, she felt her roots finally take hold. Days passed, and Nia poured her heart into something new, ***, the Lena House, ***, a nonprofit for women who had been silenced, manipulated, or left behind by the same system she had escaped. Malik helped her build the website. Lena had chosen the name herself. Because flowers grow better when they have sunshine, she said, and love. At the heart of the Lena House was a promise. No one should have to earn safety or beg for kindness. The world had failed too many women, and Nia was determined to rewrite that story. One quiet evening, after dinner and another messy round of pancake practice, the three of them curled up on the couch together. Lena nestled into Nia's side, crayons and drawings scattered across the coffee table. The soft hum of the city drifted through the open window. Lena turned to her, eyes wide and serious. Will you stay here forever? Nia smiled gently. I drew you into our family already, Lena said proudly, holding up a new picture. 3 stick figures stood in front of a bright garden. A tall black man, a little black girl, and a woman in a purple dress. Nia looked at the drawing, her heart overflowing. This wasn't just a picture. It was a promise. One she was finally ready to keep.